Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin. I'm very excited about tonight's show. That we have the second half of the fantastic interview with President Trump, which will be coming up a little later in the program. But first, have you ever wondered how every politician and bureaucrat in Washington and every host in left-wing media, how they know how everything works in the country? They'll tell you anything you want to know about electric vehicles, the combustion engine, the electrical grid, oil drilling and refining, carbon dioxide, or do they? They don't have the foggiest idea what they're talking about. None. They talk in shibboleths. They talk in ambiguous terms. Politicians are mostly lawyers who happen to get more votes than the other lawyer in the other party. And they come to Washington and they think they can run your lives. They think they can look at an industry and take it over and change it. We don't have people who are capable of being masterminds. As a matter of fact, the human race does not. Politician, bureaucrat, professor, TV host, they don't even know how to make a pencil. And they want to make electric engines, change the electrical grid, do everything upside down and inside out as their war on capitalism and the degrowth movement continues. Cedar, graphite, metal, rubber. Seems pretty simple. I'm going to do something this evening that's really never been done before. I'm going to play a video for you from the Competitive Enterprise Institute. I want you to watch this very, very carefully and then think to yourselves, is Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, or the rest of the Democrat reprobates, are they actually capable of running a complex, massive economy like ours? Take a look. Go.
These are the basic materials that go into a pencil: graphite, cedar, metal, and rubber. But if you had all the elements of a pencil right in front of you, could you make a pencil? It's not as easy as you might think. In fact, no single person on the face of the earth could do it without the help of countless others. And this is the key to understanding the world. A pencil, just like you and me, is the end result of a vast and intricate family tree, a symphony of human activity that spans the globe. Through their work and knowledge, a vast number of people have had a hand in making this simple pencil. Unlike your family tree, this one begins with an actual tree. The most immediate ancestor of the pencil is a cedar tree in the Pacific Northwest. But the loggers who harvest the timber are also its ancestors. And these men don't work alone. They, in turn, are assisted by the people and industries that produce the saws, rope, and countless other tools that they use. These are also the ancestors of our pencil. As is the waitress at a nearby diner who sells the loggers lunch, to say nothing of the thousands of people involved in producing that simple midday meal. Across time and space, the web grows. Consider the roads, trucks, ships, communication systems, and the people who design, build, and maintain them. All of them are necessary to bring the lumber to the mills and the slat factories that process them. All of them are also the ancestors of the pencil. And even with the work of all these people, so far all we have is a stained wooden slat, a naked half of a wooden body of a pencil. But its family tree is larger and more extensive. The graphite is mined in China and Sri Lanka. At the pencil factory, it's mixed with clay.
The graphite's made in China. Imagine if we have the entire transportation hub in this country, all of our vehicles, relying on China to get the cobalt for the batteries that they intend to use in our vehicles, and so much of the rest of the material that is not natural to the United States, but is in Afghanistan, in Africa, and other parts of the world where we don't have any control over it whatsoever. Go.
And heat and other materials before it's extruded, dried, and baked in a kiln. People from different continents, different cultures, cooperate to bring these materials together with waxes and kilns and equipment from across the world. These too are the ancestors of the pencil. And the same is true of the eraser. With ingredients from around the world, it's the end result of a similarly complex and exotic branch of the family tree. As is the ferrule, the metal band made from material that is mined, refined, and shipped from all over the world. Each part of the pencil is the result of the collaboration and cooperation of millions of people. Together, they form a process that is constantly changing and adapting. A change in the availability or cost of material from one place might make another source more desirable, and the process changes and adapts fluidly. And there is a fact that's still more astounding: the absence of a mastermind, of anyone dictating these countless actions which bring a pencil into being. Each member of this family tree supplies only a small amount of the necessary know-how needed to make a pencil. They do so voluntarily, not because they necessarily want pencils or like pencils, but because by working to create them, they exchange their labor and skills for the wages that let them buy what they want and need. What you're seeing is the market at work. The spontaneous configuration of creative human energies, of millions of people with their various skills and talents organizing voluntarily in response to human necessity and desire, as if led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of the intention. Every second we are alive, we benefit from the products of voluntary, spontaneous cooperation. This is the modern world. It's miraculous, it's intricate, and it gets better every day, so long as people are free to interact with each other. If we can leave the creative energies of humankind uninhibited, there's no limit to what we can accomplish.
Have you ever wondered why there's literally no industry in Washington, D.C. or the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area? Literally no industry. They couldn't make a pencil in Washington, D.C. They make laws, regulations, fiats, edicts, raise your taxes, redistribute wealth, and screw up the economy majorly. That's why there's inflation through the roof, the currency's weak, the Chinese are moving in, trying to destroy the dollar as the world's currency. Ask Joe Biden, do you know how to make a pencil? Do you know how to spell the word pencil? Now for something completely different, ladies and gentlemen, the second half of my interview with President Trump. It's fantastic. Enjoy. Well, one of the things that really grabbed my attention in this book was Sean Connery, who's passed away fairly recently, one of my favorite actors.
Great.
You point out in your book that this guy was a powerhouse in Scotland. He didn't talk a lot, but when he spoke, people listened. You had an experience with that, and you mention it in the book. What was that?
So I never met him, but I was doing a big project in Scotland, and magnificent, on almost 2,000 acres, and they were dunes that were essentially landmarked. You couldn't touch them. You couldn't even walk on them. It were sacred dunes. And I came in, I wanted to build this unbelievable golf course on those dunes, at the base of the dunes, and these are among the biggest dunes in the world, and they were very protected environmentally. And I was, going through it, and it was really a rough zone. I never thought, I was always good at getting zoning. And all of a sudden, and I was having a hard time here, and it was years, a lot of money, environmental reports, impact statements. And all of a sudden, and I didn't know Sean Connery. I met him once quickly, but I didn't know him. But he was from Scotland, and, different kind of a guy, tough guy, actually. And he said, let the damn Americans spend money in Scotland, let him have his golf course, let him have fun, and let him put people to work. Let the bloke, let him do what he wants to do. Don't be stupid. That was it. I didn't think it. As soon as he said that, it was like,
it's amazing.
It was, everything changed. So then, because of that, I got to know him a little bit. I said, that's really unbelievable. You have to see headlines in every paper in Scotland. Sean Connery says, let him do it. And that was like God coming down and saying, Scotland, let him do it. And everything opened up. It was incredible. And I said, Sean, you ever think about getting into politics? But he got pretty sick after that. He wasn't a young guy when that happened. It wasn't that long ago. but I really appreciated it. I thought it was amazing, actually. It's an interesting story. Just a word. He had tremendous power in Scotland, and in different places, but in Scotland, it was pretty amazing to watch it. Good guy, tough guy.
You're a New York man, or at least you were. So you had to deal with a lot of politicians in New York. You have several other letters in here. Chuck Schumer, who really thanked you for making the first contribution to his campaign years and years and years ago. The Cuomos, and those letters are in here too. Mm-hmm. Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. What was your relationship with them like?
So, a couple of things. First of all, Chuck Schumer, I gave him, New York is largely Democrat, although you never know because of the way the voting systems are. You never know. You may be surprised. But I gave him his first contribution. I was in Brooklyn at an office that I had with my father in Brooklyn. And he was running for the state assembly, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Right out of law school.
And I gave him a contribution. I think it was $500. I think it was the first check he ever got. Now, he used to brag about it. Now he doesn't want to talk about it so much, but that's okay. But I gave him, and I got along with him very good. Look, he's a smart guy. I got along with him really good until I ran for office. I'm running as a Republican, and it got nasty after that. With the Cuomo family, I knew Mario very well. I helped him. I supported him. I had an out because I found him not to be a very loyal person. I just didn't think he was. Some people said he was a good speaker, and some people said he wasn't a good speaker. The sun will rise tomorrow, all of that. I don't know. But I had a falling out with Mario. Not during his time. It was afterwards. It was sort of afterwards. With Andrew.
What about the pandemic? How he handled that? It seemed to me he would praise you one day and then attack you the next.
Well, he was a guy that would one day he'd say, "Thank you very much. I sent the ship. I rebuilt the Javits Center. I did all of that." And then they didn't use it to the extent they should have. And if they would have put the people in there instead of putting them back in nursing homes where everybody got infected, you would have had a much different story in New York. But yeah, he'd say, I have letters from him that you have done the greatest job of anybody. And I did. I let the governors run their states. And we had some governors that did a fantastic job. South Carolina, Tennessee, South Dakota. We had governors that did a fantastic job. And I let them do it. If they wanted to keep their state open, I said, keep it open. If they wanted to close it, I said, you close it. Numerous Republican governors kept their states open. And frankly, the numbers were better than if you closed. It's sort of an amazing thing. You'd think if you close it and seal it, but they were sealing it. People that weren't even leaving their apartments were catching COVID. Explain that one. So the Democrats had a pretty lousy run with that if you look at, what happened. But we did a fantastic job. The ventilators, the equipment I got, bringing the hospital. As an example, I got the hospital boat, a great hospital boat. I brought it into New York. It was fully equipped for COVID. We rebuilt the Javits Center. It was like a hospital. And I did that in Louisiana. I did that in many states. In Chicago, I did. We built the most beautiful facilities. GSA worked with us, and the Army Corps of Engineers worked with us. They were unbelievable. The Army Corps of Engineers was able to build hospitals in 3 days. Literally take a space like a convention center space. And within 3 days, it was an unbelievable hospital with dividers and everything else. We did a fantastic job. Never got credit for that. I should have, because the honest governors will tell you, because I'd have a governor's call like every week. The honest governors, of which there are some, would tell you we did a fantastic job in getting them the gowns and the masks and the goggles and everything else. But that was a very tough period for our country. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody, we heard stories. China, I was probably the first one. I said it came from the lab in Wuhan. I knew that. For one thing, you saw body bags all over the place around that lab. There were body bags all over that area, and nobody talks about it. But in Wuhan, you had, through satellite pictures and other things, you had pictures, body bags all over the place. And you could see little lines, from way up, but they couldn't be anything else. But I said, and I've said right from the beginning, it was the lab in Wuhan. It got out. It got out of the lab. I think it was incompetence. I really believe it was incompetence. More, people said I was charging China so much money in tariffs and taxes that a lot of people said they did it to get me out. But we did great in that election. I did much better in the second election than I did in the first. I got 12 million more votes.
The book is Letters to Trump. You can go to 45books.com and order it. We'll be right back.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.